Hi, everybody. My name is Tony Thomas. I'm a WITS instructor at the University of Texas at Austin. Have been so for a little over 10 years now. I also own a gym in Austin, Texas called Kilter Fitness. I've been a lifelong athlete, a pro athlete for a long time. I'm a very active guy. I spend my day in the gym. I'm still a full-time personal trainer and wouldn't want to live my life any other way. But we're here today to talk about parts of components of fitness that we might seem um, reluctant to do. And today we're going to talk about yoga. And this is 5-minute yoga. It's yoga for people who hate yoga. And I got to tell you, I'm one of those guys. I'm not a huge fan of yoga. I never have been. And we're going to talk about the reasons people don't like yoga, the reasons I don't like yoga, but then again, the benefits that we get out of yoga and why I do it and how I do it every single day. So we're going to start off with this. You signed up for this because you saw the tagline, yoga for people who hate yoga, and that's cool. I get it. So why do you hate yoga? Yoga's terrible, right? You feel awkward doing it. You feel absolutely ridiculous. And I'll be honest with you, you probably look silly doing it as well. So not a big surprise there. It takes forever. Like yoga takes, the 60-minute class, the 90-minute class. Like I got other things to do with my life. I got emails to send, right? And you're terrible at it. You're bad at yoga. If you were really good at yoga, you wouldn't hate it because it's easy and it's fun for you. And the fact of the matter is, you're never going to be this woman. Look at her. I'm never going to be able to do this. You're never going to be able to do this. Maybe you will someday, but it's not going to be me. I'm not that guy. And I don't need to be all zen. As you might imagine, as an educator and the guy who spends most of his life in the gym, I'm not all zen, guys. I get pretty intense, and I like to be a pretty aggressive guy. I'm not going to chill out for too terribly long, all right? And to be honest, you'd rather be doing anything but yoga. You go into the gym, and then like over here's all the dumbbells, and over here's the yoga room. I'm going to the free weight section, guys. I would much rather do squats than downward facing dog, but I'd also much rather drink a nice beer than sitting around doing yoga. But the fact of the matter is, we need to do it. We need to do yoga. There's a lot of benefits from yoga that we're going to get into in just a few minutes. But what I'm going to do is we're going to break this down. And we're going to make yoga quick, simple, effective, and completely worth your while. All right. If we can find a way to do it, that we will do it. Learn some things about it as we go. It really is worth the 5 minutes of your day, and just the benefits of it. If we look at our yoga, even if we don't call it yoga, if we just call it stretching, if we call it focused stretching, we know that it reduces our injury rate because it helps us gain range of motion in our really important joint systems. It helps us accelerate recovery. It helps us, and honestly, I like to do it after a workout, and I get real tense and worked up during my workout, and it helps me calm my mind. It really helps check me down so I can get on about my day without all that adrenaline that does come along with a good workout or a good sporting event or whatever it happens to be. And it also gives us an opportunity to work on our weaknesses. We're all bad at something, right? We're all bad. I'm bad at a lot of things. And the reason we go to the gym, if we're honest with it, what we do is we should be going to the gym to work on the things that we're not good at. We need to work on the things that we're bad at. And doing yoga helps us identify some of our weaknesses, some of the parts of how our body works that could work better. And it helps us, turn those weaknesses into strengths. All right. So let's really talk about yoga, what we're going to do in our 5-minute flow and how we're going to structure it. It's called a yoga practice, and let's be honest, we all need to practice. So let's spend, when we first start doing this, let's just do one thing at a time. If you'll give me 5 minutes in each of these poses for a couple of weeks, I mean just one a day, give me one pose a day for 5 minutes, you're going to see huge benefits just from that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tie it all together as we get to the end here, and then help you guys put together a 5-minute yoga practice every day. All right. First thing we're going to work on is child's pose. And guys, I put myself in these photos and these videos to let you know that I absolutely do these things. I think they're really important. And if I'm going to look silly doing it, you can too. It's all right. So first one is child's pose. This is, if you've ever been to a yoga class and you're like, well, if you're having trouble doing this pose, just push back into child's pose. That's not something they're telling you to do just because they don't want to deal with you. They're telling you that because it's really one of the most important poses that we can do. It helps sink those shoulders down and elongate the body. I'm going to ask you to do child's pose a little differently than other yoga instructors will ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to put your toes together, take your knees far apart. We want to give your torso a place to go. We're going to extend the arms out, put thumbs up, make fists and put thumbs up in the air, and keep your elbows and your forehead off the mat. Now, a lot of instructors are going to tell you to do child's pose with your forehead on the mat, with your elbow on the mat. I'm going to ask you to not, because of what we're accomplishing here. Hopefully you can see my cursor. Is I want to create this space so that gravity pulls the shoulders down. And while we're stretching the glutes and the lower back, which we're obviously getting done in this position, I want to make sure that we're letting gravity pull the shoulders down and loosen up the lats and the teres that are sitting basically under your arm. Those get really tight from being on the computer and the hands in front of you all the time. And this helps open that up. Again, if you'll just give me 5 minutes of child's pose, I guarantee you, you're going to feel better about it. But once you get that down, we can move into a couple of other poses that we want to look at. Is upward facing dog is going to be one of the biggest ones that we can do. We slide from child's pose, we slide straight up in upward facing dog. And what I like about this one is we've got toes pointed back or on the ground, knees are on the ground, nice extended arms here. Want to bring your shoulders back and your chest up a little bit. And what we're doing now, the big benefit that we get from upward facing dog is gravity is pulling your pelvis towards the ground. What we're really getting out of that is our hip flexors get super, super tight from sitting all the time. As North American adults, we sit way too much, and those hip flexors get super tight, causing all kinds of problems that we can talk about another day if you'd like to. We need to stretch those out and open those up so that those hip flexors don't get so tight and take over everything. And this upward facing dog gives us a great opportunity to really loosen those up. From upward facing dog, I like to slide into downward facing dog. And I don't name these poses. I do make up some of my own names for poses because there are some poses that are named ridiculously that don't make sense, but we're going to call this one downward facing dog. I've seen my dog do this, so this works. Downward facing dog is think of it like your upside down V. The most important part isn't, interestingly, the hamstrings here. Notice my knees are bent here. I'm not getting a real good hamstring stretch. My big thing that I'm doing is I'm flattening the shoulders. I'm looking for a hard line from the wrists up to the hips. That's going to be my first thing that I want to do here is create this line. And then over time, as I get looser, I'm going to stretch out, get my knees straighter, and get my hamstrings a little more stretched out from that perspective. I'll tell you right now, as a runner, when I keep my hamstrings a little tight, I run faster, so my hamstrings are tighter than maybe we would say we would like them to be. But I do that for a reason, and if we've got a reason to do that, it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you can justify it. All right, so once we get these three basic poses down, and these, I want to take a moment here and talk about how important it is to spend time in these poses and get used to them. We're going to come in and out of them a lot when we get to the flow, but don't think that we need to rush this at all. What we need to do is learn how to get these poses. We're just practicing right now. We got 5 minutes a day. First day, we're probably going to do 5 minutes in child's pose. Maybe you only get 3 minutes. That's fine. Next day, we're going to do, a minute in child's pose and a minute upward facing dog and a minute in downward facing dog. Maybe we cycle through those a couple of times, maybe just 30 seconds at a time. Don't get in a rush. We're not in a hurry. We've got the rest of your life to get this done. We just want it, but if we can work at it a little bit every day, we're gonna see some big benefits out of it. So our next pose, and this is going to be the foundation for the bulk of our flow, is our pigeon pose. I don't really think it looks like a pigeon, but that's what they call it. So that's what we're going to call it. And we're going to do it a little bit differently than other yoga instructors might teach you how to do pigeon. So let me back up a little bit. We start in downward facing dog. We lift, in this case, we're going to lift the left leg up and then bring that left knee in between the hands and sit up into a nice high pigeon there. So what we're doing here, the key point here is in this position, we're going to set the right thigh inside the arch of the left foot. Some yogis will ask you to bring that foot out here by your hand. I'm going to ask you to not. because it puts some torque on the knee that I'm really not happy with. And for those of us who don't do yoga very often, we really need to avoid that lateral and rotational force that we put on the knee in that position. No need to get into there at this point. If down the road you find yourself wanting to creep that foot forward, go ahead, but don't worry too much about that. I want to sit in this position. This is our nice high pigeon. I love this one because if we'll sit with equal weight on each hip, on the left side, we're going to get a good glute stretch, a good hamstring stretch, and or a good quad stretch, all in this one pose. In this pose, it's really easy to get all your weight over on that left side. Make sure we have equal weight on each hip so that we get more of this hip flexor stretch on the right side. We were talking about the importance of that earlier, but we need to get this hip flexor stretch. And I love sitting right in the middle of the pigeon pose and letting that open up. And so that's going to be our big one, our big key talking point in the high pigeon. Our next pose is going to be the quad pigeon. This is just like the high pigeon. You just reach back with your right hand, get a hold of your right foot, and try to pull that heel into the glute. Now, this is where you're most likely to be terrible. This is where you're most likely to reach back for that foot and fall over on your left side. This one's a very, very difficult pose. I've been doing it for a long time. I've gotten pretty good at it. Don't be surprised if you can't do this pose. And if you can't, that's okay. Once we get pigeon for a long time, you'll be able to just work towards reaching back and getting into this pose. This is the one that is going to be the most difficult of all of them. If you can't do it, don't worry about it. All you can do is grab a hold of the heel of your shoe and barely touch it. That's fine too. I'll take whatever stretch I can get out of this one. Trust me, I've fallen over on my side several times doing this one, and I will do it again for sure. So don't be too surprised by that. So from that quad pigeon, we're going to slide into a low pigeon, which is this is the one where we bring our hands forward, we put our elbows down, we put our forehead down, and we just let that entire spine decompress. You see, you've got a little bit of like a little turtle shell going on here, and that's just me really opening up that spine and sinking those hips down. I always like to think of myself as I breathe and take a big inhale, and as I exhale, I'm just going to sink into the mat here, and that's going to give me, I'm going to take some time in that if I need to, depending on what's going on. All right, and then I'm going to hit my twisting pigeon. This is called like I don't know, like half Lord of the Moon God or some weird like pose is what they actually call it. I just call it twisting pigeon. We'll talk about how to get into this one in a few minutes, but it's basically from your high pigeon. We just want to throw the leg around and then turn the elbow over and set up that twist. We're going to see this live in the flow, not live, but we're going to see a video of it here in a couple minutes, so we can see how to get into that. I love this one. In this one, we want to sit up really, really tall and set up that rotational movement, that transverse plane movement. That spinal rotation is the first thing we lose as we age, and once we lose that motions, the ability to move there, we start to lose other abilities from there. But if we can maintain the ability to twist that spine, we're going to really slow down the aging process. And if you're a golfer, you really need to get that shoulder turn. Helps you bring down on it. So that's my big benefit out of it. So let's look at what we call our 5-minute flow. I'm going to walk you through this. I'm going to let it play, and we're going to talk about it as we go. This is me absolutely doing this. So let's go ahead and get to it. So we're going to start with on our knees. I'm going to just sit down into child's pose. Each of these poses, I'm going to take one big deep breath. I'm going to flow into the next one. So I'm going to slide into my upward facing dog and take a big deep breath, push back in my downward facing dog. Lift a leg, bring the knee in between the hands, sit up tall for a nice high pigeon. I'm going to take a big deep breath. I'm going to push back into downward facing dog. High pigeon on the other side. You got to make sure you do both sides. You can't do just one side here. We've got to be even. And we're just going to take one big deep breath and slide into it. We're going to come in and out of pigeon a whole bunch of times. Here's my quad pigeon, reaching back and grabbing that foot and setting it up on the other side. Again, this is where you're most likely to fall over. Nice smooth flow, as smoothly as we possibly can. Sitting up now into my nice low pigeon. Again, coming in and out of pigeon several times throughout this. Got a lot of benefit from working on that movement, doing it nice and smoothly. Really nice smooth flow as much as you possibly can here. pushing back here. And here's where we set up this twist. We're gonna come in, I'm gonna lean over my right hip, throw the left leg all the way around, and then set up twist on the side, and inhale, twist, and look over my back shoulder. Slowly and gently unwinding that, setting up the other side. Slide into this, roll over on that hip, throw it around, set up that twist, all the way in. Good. And so I love this twist. I'm going to come back into it, back into downward facing dog. We're going to slide into upward facing dog. That's going to push us back into child's pose. And then we're going to close with a nice deep squat. Make sure I can hold that squat. Take a big deep breath. And that's all we're doing, guys. Now, if you were paying attention, that wasn't 5 minutes. That was a minute, I think a minute and 41 seconds is what that was. I'm going to let this play and talk about it a little bit more. Yeah, it's a minute and 41 seconds for this flow. And if things are going right, maybe that's all you need. What I'm doing here is, as I'm going through this flow, I'm paying attention to what's going on. I'm learning to listen to my body, giving an opportunity to speak. And when I get into a pose that's difficult, I'm going to take some time in there. In this video, I held each pose for 1 breath. Maybe I need to go 2 breaths. Maybe I need to go 10 breaths. Maybe I need to set a clock and hold each pose for 30 seconds. And that's fine too. I just need to really pay attention to my body, and I'm going to end up taking about 5 minutes to get through this on most days, because I'm going to find myself in a pose that's difficult, and I'm just going to give myself time to sink into each one of those poses. If I get through it really quickly and my body's feeling great, I got done in a minute and 40 seconds or whatever it was, I'm just going to do it again. And now I got my 5 minutes of yoga in, and I'm feeling good about myself. So you're going to have access to these slides. You can come back and look at all the individual slides. You can look back at the video, so you can reference this anytime you want. But this is a flow that's really going to help you get there. Let's see, up out of this. So let's just think. Let's talk about some things that we need to really think about when we do this. First of all, this is not a full yoga program, so you need to be warm when you do it. If you go to like yoga class, you go through a bunch of sun salutations and things of that nature to help get you warm. I'm assuming you're already warm. This is the thing that you do at the end of your workout, at the end of, after your run, after your bike ride, after your volleyball game, whatever it happens to be. Once you're warm, then we can go ahead and sink into this. And get started. So don't do this cold. If you're just doing yoga, make sure you do some sort of warm up. Maybe go for a jog around the block, do some elliptical work, whatever warm up stuff you like to do. Make sure you're real warm before you get started. You can wear shoes or you can not wear shoes. Yogis say, hey, you should never wear shoes while you're doing yoga. I do at the end of my workout, and just as a courtesy to everyone else in the gym, I'm not taking my shoes off, all right? That's just rude. So I'm going to leave my shoes on. Your choice. Do it in socks, do it in shoes. You can get those funky 5-finger shoes if you want. I don't care. Do whatever works for you. I'm going to tell you to breathe. I want you to take a big, deep breath. Big inhale, big exhale. Just like you're doing a heavy bench press or something. Make sure you get lots of oxygen and lots of CO2 exchange there. You want to get it in and get it out. I know we say 5 minutes, but again, it was a minute and 40 seconds. Take your time. Take your time. Use all of your 5 minutes. And really pay attention to your body. Your body's going to tell you some things during this. And we always talk about listening to your body. You got to learn to listen to your body. Well, doing things like this, doing yoga, gives you a good opportunity. It gives your body a chance to talk to you, and it calms your brain down just enough that you can listen to it. So things that we really want to look at from that perspective. And guys, that's all we got today. I'll tell you this, do it every day. Give me 5 minutes every day. I do this every day, and this is all the yoga I do. And if you do it 5 minutes a day, that's 35 minutes a week. And go to an hour-long yoga class, that's 60 minutes. And you're not going to get nearly work done because you're just doing it once. Give me 7 workouts. Give me 7 5-minute workouts. Give me 35 minutes, and I swear to you, you'll see huge improvements in this. And maybe you still hate yoga. Maybe you never want to go to yoga class. You don't need a yoga mat. You can do it on the ground. I don't care. Just get out and get this flow done. You're going to see some huge benefits of it. Again, my name is Tony Thomas. If you have any questions you want to ask me directly, that's my email address. If you're in the Austin, Texas area, come by, see my gym. I'd love to meet you guys. And that's all I got for you. Have a great rest of your day, guys.